I'd like to introduce Greg Epstein from Perry Videx, LLC. You shared with me a document that your company put out called The 8 Myths of Used Process Equipment. And myth number 1 states that there's no guarantee that used equipment will work. In Blackbird's world, in the auction world, we sell everything as is, whereas that's what we have inspection for. However, there's almost an implied sense when a piece of equipment is in line and it was in a factory and it was working and the plumbing's connected to it and they were making widgets. When the plant closed, there's a certain amount of faith that buyers put in that knowledge when they buy at an auction sale. And clearly, if we know that the piece of equipment was not functioning properly or needed a new spindle or it was broken or needs a new control panel, we'll disclose that. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we're handed the keys and literally have no one left in the company that's being liquidated to help us answer those kinds of questions. So your company and our company, we partner transactions together. We lean on Perry as an expert to give us guidance for appraisals sometimes. And sometimes you're buyers at our auctions. So you buy something as is, there's no guarantee that used equipment will work. And it's different from your perspective as an equipment dealer. So tell us what happens when you buy something in my auction. What do you do with it? What happens behind the curtains?
So you're right. And I may be a little different than a typical buyer because we have the ability, if something's not working, to fix it ourselves. And that almost never happens, though. When you talk about the sense that the equipment was in line and working when the plant shut down, that the equipment's going to work for us, for me as a buyer. For us as a machinery dealer, we have the added protection, though, that if there is an issue, or even if there's not an issue, even if we just want to recondition the piece and clean it up and test run it, we have that ability. So our world is a little different than the auction world in that our implied warranty, and sometimes a customer will buy an explicit warranty from us when they buy equipment that's non-auction world from a dealer. The sense is that we're going to stand behind everything that we sell. My experience with auctioneers, the credible auctioneers, that if there's a problem that no one anticipated, it's in the auctioneer's also best interest to try and get it resolved. There are several ways to mitigate the risk. One of the ways is to inspect the equipment before an auction sale. Another way is to have, if there are really critical tolerances on a piece of equipment, to hire a testing service prior to the auction sale and have them go in to the extent that they have access to the equipment. Remember, no one's warranty is that this piece of equipment will do what you want it to do in your process, okay? That which is implied is that this piece of equipment will work mechanically.
Right.
Not that your reaction will take place in this reactor. That's up to you and your chemists.
Exactly right. And I think they call that merchantability for a particular purpose within the warranty world. And you know, all the king's horses can help put Humpty Dumpty back together. But if Humpty Dumpty is really broken and if what they're trying to accomplish can't work, then it has nothing to do with the equipment.
Correct.
Okay.
That's really on the buyer to be educated in that respect. What's a little different for us is that we have more flexibility as a dealer, perhaps, than an auctioneer would in terms of being able to take a piece back because somebody made a mistake and either give me an equipment credit or it's a good enough customer, just give him his money back because knowing he'll come back.
In Blackbird's world, we deal in a very compressed timeline. We need to get in, get out, clear the floor, move this stuff out because our objective is different. And in the dealer world, you do have the benefit of more time to take the time to recondition or clean or make adjustments or put a different sweep blade on the bottom of that piece that you're selling to meet the customer's needs. But in an auction sale, it's as is, where is, and it's just the way it's sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
So to the extent that your myths state that there's no guarantee that used equipment will work, is it serviceable? In the event that the mixer motor is frozen, are these things serviceable to people that buy them at auctions? Can you help with those?
Yeah, absolutely. They're serviceable. If a piece of equipment is in such disrepair that it's not serviceable, that's going to be pretty obvious, which is why either inspection by photograph at the bare minimum or, if possible, inspection in person for an auction scenario is so important because you can pretty much see what most of the time what the problem is. Again, our world is different in that we have the flexibility to take it back, where the auction world does not. But they've had very, very remarkably few situations, especially in the auctions I've been involved with, where we've had an issue with a client claiming that, hey, I didn't know this wasn't going to work. But you have more experience than I do in that respect, Dave. But I've had very little pushback like that over the years for us.
So the disclaimer, buyer beware, and as is, where is, are important disclaimers in the auctioneer's world. And when a dealer purchases something from us and has the opportunity to go over it, you can offer that equipment with some kind of a warranty or guarantee after the fact. And there's consideration for that. And depending on the equipment, obviously depends on what that kind of markup is going to be. But the overreaching message I think that we're getting to here is that people that are looking to buy a piece of used equipment are generally in the industry within the equipment space that they're looking. And it will be evident from an inspection if things have been properly maintained. It will be evident from the condition of the rest of the facility, how that particular place ran their operation. So you can give a little bit of leeway and have some comfort in knowing that as a buyer, trust in what you see, ask really important, ask really learned questions. And from an auctioneer's perspective, the last thing I'd like to leave is that take advantage of the inspection period and go in, look at these things. And if it's a complicated purchase, to your comment, please get an expert in there to look at the equipment before you make a purchase.
Yes. So I think all of the above is how you can buy confidently in an auction sale.
My friend, Greg Epstein, President, CEO, Perry Videx, thanks for your time today.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.